What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This is the OnePlus 8 Pro, and I have a lot of really positive things to say about it. But before we get to that, I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but kind of got my hair cut. What you guys think? Nice and clean, you know? First time in 2 months that any barbershops have been open, and finally went out there and got my hair cut. It's exciting. I get to share in that excitement with you guys, and I got my hair cut, man. It's been 2 months. No? No? Nobody? Okay, all right, let's talk about the phone then. Now, OnePlus has always been the kind of company where they focused on giving you the best possible smartphone experience at the lowest possible price. The OnePlus 8 Pro deviates from that strategy in that everything about it is what you would find on a flagship phone, but with that comes the flagship price tag. Now, ultimately, whenever you're reviewing phones that are this expensive, it's all about figuring out whether the feature set that comes on the phone is worth how much the manufacturer is charging you. In this case, $899 or $999, depending on which build you get. The display is one of the most vibrant and color accurate that I've ever seen. And the OnePlus 8 Pro specifically has over 10 broken display records to show for it. Now, it is a big display coming in at 6.78 inches, but it has a maximum resolution of 1440p, and my personal favorite part, comes with a 120 Hz refresh rate. And unlike other Android flagship phones, you don't have to lower your display resolution in order to utilize the 120 Hz refresh rate. The optical fingerprint sensor is back, and it's just as fast and accurate as it was before, and overall, the display is just fantastic. There is one thing I would personally change if it was up to me, and that's just to swap out the hole punch for the pop-up selfie camera, just to have that uniform display that last year's OnePlus 7 Pro had. But I get why they made the change. It probably made the phone a little more reliable because you have less mechanical parts, and it probably made the phone easier to certify for IP68 water and dust resistance, which, by the way, this phone does have. So I'm willing to accept those trade-offs and take the hole punch in the display. I also love the overall design of the phone. The back glass is frosted and matte, so it does a pretty good job of not picking up fingerprints. And when you combine the overall design, build, look of the phone, especially with the fact that OnePlus is using a really similar camera array this year around, it reminds me a lot of last year's OnePlus 7 Pro, and that was a phone that I really liked as well. The only difference is this year around, OnePlus has included both wireless and reverse wireless charging, which has been a standard on Android flagship phones for about a year now. So huge props to OnePlus for finally catching up on the wireless charging game, but they also one-upped it this year. On the OnePlus 8 Pro, you can get 30-watt wireless charging speeds, if you choose, by purchasing the custom wireless charger that OnePlus made specifically for the 8 Pro. Now, that's just as fast as their wire charging standard, which is just insane. So yeah, while OnePlus was a little late to the wireless charging game, they definitely raised the stakes for everybody else. It's pretty cool. And I'm honestly glad that there are two different fast charging standards on this phone, because my battery life with it has been mixed. Now, I'm not saying that the OnePlus 8 Pro just specifically has bad battery life. It actually comes with a relatively large battery, 4,510 milliamp hours. But there are so many different settings that you can adjust on this phone that will make or break the overall battery life. So when I first started using it, I had everything cranked up. I had auto brightness turned off, display resolution set to Quad HD+, 120 Hz refresh rate turned on, everything. And I was killing the device after like 6 or 7 hours being off the charger. I didn't think it was too big of a deal because I could just plug it in and get a whole bunch of juice back. But my happy medium after a couple weeks of use has been auto brightness turned on, display resolution set to full HD+, refresh rate set to 120 Hz, and I'm also not on a 5G network, I'm on 4G LTE. So the expression, your battery life may vary, is incredibly applicable to this device, because on top of your own usage patterns, it's also going to come down to how you have your settings configured that's going to make or break this device's battery life. Now, one thing I've always appreciated about OnePlus is they've never skimped out whenever it comes to hardware. And obviously the OnePlus 8 Pro is no exception, given that it's their flagship model. So my particular device in ultramarine blue comes with a Snapdragon 865, 12 gigs of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage, which is plenty for just about everyone out there. Now, when you pair that to Oxygen OS, which OnePlus is always focused on optimizing to be faster and smoother than other Android OEMs out there, you get one of the best Android experiences, and that's coming from someone who cannot really step away from the Pixel line because of that Android experience. Now, I did really enjoy my Galaxy S20 Ultra, but I gotta say, the OnePlus 8 Pro makes me not even miss my Pixel 4 XL or my S20 Ultra because software is so nice and really close to stock with just the right amount of optimizations, and hardware and performance is just fantastic. OnePlus always kills it in this department. Now, one area where OnePlus has historically not killed it has been the camera department. But I am incredibly happy to say that this year on the OnePlus 8 Pro, they nailed the flagship camera experience. So the OnePlus 8 Pro comes with 4 different lenses: a 48 megapixel wide angle, a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle, an 8 megapixel telephoto, and a 5 megapixel color filter sensor. The phone itself is also capable of taking video at 1080p or 4K at 30 and 60 frames for both, and it's also capable of super slow-mo video that can shoot at 720p at 480 frames per second or 1080p at 240 frames per second. Now, one of my favorite and more utilized features was the super macro mode that's built into the primary sensor. And this camera system is not going to be like top tier, like it's probably not going to be a top 1, 2, or even 3 camera system whenever it comes to Android phones, but the quality of photos and videos that it produces are flagship level. And this particular setup is significantly better than any other camera system OnePlus has incorporated in the past. But you really don't have to take my word on any of that. Take a look at some of the photos and videos that we're displaying for you, and you can make the call yourself. Photos and videos on this device are great, and that's one thing that OnePlus hasn't typically historically nailed, so I'm happy to see them do that this year. So in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that a flagship phone has to justify its feature set at the price that it's set at. So let's take my specific OnePlus 8 Pro, which starts at $999, and compare it to a pretty popular but also pretty expensive flagship phone that we recently reviewed, the Galaxy S20 Ultra. This is the top of the line smartphone offered by OnePlus, and the S20 Ultra is the top of the line smartphone offered by Samsung. So while it's not a complete direct comparison, it's about as close as a comparison that we can get. So my particular OnePlus, like I said, starts at $999, and the S20 Ultra, when it released, started at $1,399. And you're not really getting any compromises when it comes to the OnePlus 8 Pro. This is OnePlus going all out and telling everyone, hey, we can make a flagship phone. Here it is. And honestly, when it comes to the two, I would much rather save the $400 and go with the OnePlus 8 Pro than spend $400 extra and get an S20 Ultra. Now, Samsung has recently discounted the S20 Ultra by $200, and even then, the OnePlus 8 Pro is $200 cheaper. So I would say that while OnePlus is not necessarily the value it used to be 2 or 3 years ago, they still did a really solid job of making an amazing smartphone and also keeping the price relatively justified, so you're getting a good value for the flagship phone. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about the OnePlus 8 Pro in the comment section down below. And if you're looking for the review of the OnePlus 8, that's on its way out. So make sure you hit subscribe. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.